Let's discuss lesson 6.2, which is savings options. Now that we know why we want to save for peace of mind, security, growing money, and we know how to grow money using simple interest method and compounding interest method. So let's talk about what options we have, and I want to make sure that we continue to be clear that saving is different than investing. So we're looking at purely savings right now. So we'll look at the features of different options. We'll consider some factors that influence it and then give you some hints on how to do this regularly so you can build some wealth. So let's talk first about regular savings accounts. So a regular savings account, most of you probably know, is a very liquid account, meaning I can convert it to cash quickly. I can walk into the bank and typically get my money immediately. And I can do that withdrawal without any penalty. And the result of this, which I think it talks about somewhere on here, is that I get a lower interest rate then, because the bank's not assured that they're going to have my money to use for their purposes. They're not going to pay me as high in interest rates. So that's a regular saving. Very liquid, no withdrawal penalty, and low interest rates typically. Then there's a certificate of deposit. And a CD, the thing that you need to make sure that you understand, and I know you can read the slide, is that there is a fixed interest rate. It is a specified length of time, so a 6-month CD, a 3-year CD, a 2-month CD, and it's 6% or 8%. It doesn't change. And then you have to have a minimum deposit, so $500 or $1,000 to buy a CD. And then you have to leave that CD in there. If you take it out early, you pay a really substantial penalty. It can be up to 40 or 50% of the amount you deposited if you withdraw it early. And then at the maturity date, they will give you back the amount you invested and the interest. Okay? So that's a certificate of deposit. And then we have money market accounts. Money market accounts are a type of savings where you basically get higher interest. They are, and this is one of the keys I'd write in my notes, they are not insured by the FDIC. We talked about that in the previous chapter, where the federal government insures banks and your checking account and your savings account, but it does not insure these money market accounts, so there is more risk. So those are really your 3 primary savings tools: a savings account, a CD, or a money market account. So how do I decide which one? So these are the factors that matter. And I'm just going to touch briefly on these, and there's a slide on each of them that I'm going to fly by. But liquidity, how quickly I can turn the savings into cash when I want, is really important. So typically a savings account is quicker than a CD because the CD has to stay in there for a long amount of time. Safety, is it insured or not? So a savings account is by the FDIC and a money market account is not. The convenience, do I have the ability to go into a bricks and mortar bank and get my money out quick or not? Can I do it using my phone or not? How quick can I access this money? How convenient? And then interest earning potential. Hopefully it's obvious by now that the higher your interest, the better. And we know that if it's more liquid, we tend to get lower interest. So the quicker I can convert it to cash means I'm probably not going to earn as much interest because the bank doesn't have the use of it. And then fees and restrictions. We know that banks will fee us to death. And the key will be that you just know what sorts of fees and restrictions they have on early withdrawal, usage, transactions, etc. And then finally, I want to just talk about saving regularly. This is key, that you just kind of get a routine and a process in place and you just follow it regardless of what's happening in your life. So the first thing is, it will help you meet your financial goals. Obviously, if I do it systematically, I'm more likely to start to build wealth. I know that over time and with compounding, my savings can grow into a substantial sum. So I want you to write this down in your notes, or at least make sure that you get it. If the interest calculation is P times R times T, what can we do with each factor to help ourselves? From a P perspective, the principal, I can put a lump sum in at the very beginning and it can grow, but it is better to do this regularly and continue to put something in every month. So doing the principal more often and depositing more often will help me grow wealth. From a rate perspective, the rate that we're going to get 6% or 9%, we know that bigger is always better, I hope. And then from a time perspective, when compounding, we should know by now that the more often we compound interest, the better. So annual interest is nice, but semi-annual is better. And semi-annual is nice, but quarterly is better. Quarterly is nice, but monthly would be better. Monthly's nice, but I'd rather do weekly. Weekly's great, but I'd rather do daily. I'd rather do by the hour. I'd rather do by the minute. The more often I compound, the quicker it's going to grow into something substantial. And then that final bullet point, you've heard it, I hope, many times, is pay yourself first. So when you start to work for someone, pay yourself through having them direct deposit your check so that you don't get your hands on the cash and spend it on silly stuff. So have it directly deposited into a savings account. Take your automatic deductions. So I, for instance, on my paycheck, put just $300 a month in my savings account, and then I put the rest of my net pay into an investment account, automatically deducted and sent to my investment broker for them to do. And then having payroll savings plans are really important as well. So if you can put those kind of things into place so that the money is kind of already being saved or invested before you get your hands on it to waste it on clothes you don't need or food you don't need or whatever your little habit is that you like to spend money on, that is always going to be better.